All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm with my favorite co-host, reluctant co-host, my wife Paige.
Co-host during
out of all the possible co-hosts, I picked you.
Oh,
so,
well, thank you.
Nice.
I feel honored.
It was either you or one of my 3 14-year-old sons, which that would have been a fun interview too. But
maybe we'll have to do that one day.
That would be hilarious. This week, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we are talking about how we're going to open up our dojo and our gym. We, in New Jersey, do not have an actual opening date yet.
No, we do not. New Jersey, unfortunately, was one of the hotbeds in the States. We are now at over 10,000 deaths in New Jersey alone. So it's definitely a serious situation. It's a serious situation all over the world. But in New Jersey, definitely got hit harder than the majority of the states in the U.S. So we don't have an opening date yet. We're hoping that the governor will get back to us sooner than later to allow us to implement some of our plans. But in the meantime, we are still putting together what we feel will be our safe practices for when we do open.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with New Jersey, we're kind of like, I don't know, we're like New Yorkers, but maybe even a little more uptight.
Maybe just with a better suntan.
I don't know. We're pretty raw. So
yeah, just a little.
So, it's interesting if you've never been to Jersey, it's kind of like, I don't know. I've been very proud of our state and how well everyone has behaved.
Absolutely.
And followed the guidelines and have done what has been asked of them. But we're seeing a major shift in the state of people just kind of, like other states also, but they're kind of starting to lose it, where they're like, okay, we've had enough. And I've seen that, you see it in media and all the time with other states. But in New Jersey, it kind of has an extra little
flair to it.
It has a little flair to it. Where
little expletive
you
flair
should be a little
to
worried. You should be a little worried.
It's a little edgy.
But we're not going to go into any of that. But so, yeah, I feel like things are bubbling or kind of getting to that breaking over point. I am also seeing the shift that I feel like they are going to be forced to open things like martial arts schools and dance schools and gyms very, very soon.
Absolutely. The natives are restless.
Yes, they are. And that's, students and owners and everyone in between. But so as this happens, we have no guidelines in our state. And like I was just talking to Glenn the other day, our friend Glenn Brooks from Arizona, and they've been opened. So he actually had a few classes already. They've, I think he had 3 classes this week so far. So they've been having classes, and I was talking to some of the things that he's dealing with. And then I talked to, John Thompson down in Texas, and I think they're going to open June 1st or something. Was it June 1st?
Yeah, well, I think he's choosing to open his dojo and gym June 1st, but I think Texas is actually open. I could be wrong. If they're not open now, they're opening very shortly.
So I mean, every state's different, and wherever you're listening, all over the world is different. But, it's not our goal today to talk about that. We really just want to talk about how, in our situation, we don't know when we're opening, but we're already putting plans in place. We're getting to that point where we're some plans are going to be dictated by your officials, the government, the state officials are going to tell you what is required. We're kind of in that limbo place right now. But what we are doing is we're shifting into, first of all, making clear procedures that we're comfortable with first.
Absolutely.
Then we have to see what the state requires. But whatever we're making, we want to communicate with that with our students. And this is something that if you've listened to anything that I talk about, it's always about messaging and communication. That if you are teaching Aikido, for one, without going off on a tangent, like our Aikido instructors are, those are kind of the protectors of the art, in my opinion, right? So it's kind of everyone that steps on the mat to teach. It's like our responsibility to keep the art going, to make sure we're teaching the way we feel it's important, and that's different for everybody, but also kind of protecting the art and making sure that it survives things like pandemics, right?
Yeah.
It's really not possible for instructors to just throw up their hands and give up. I mean, it is possible, but I'm hoping they don't. Because we need you. We need every single one of you. We need you to get back on the mat. We need you to teach. And even if your dojo closes, we need you to reopen or start at a community center or do something so that we can preserve the art.
Without a doubt. I mean, in worst case scenario, we know of some dojos who have to close their brick and mortar, but they're going to keep a virtual presence alive until that they can reopen maybe 6 months or a year down the line. The thought process is to not give up, to not let this bring you down, but to evolve. Allow this challenge and this opportunity to expand your thought process on how can you take these teachings and still get them out to the people that need them.
Yeah, because this can all get like overwhelming, don't you think?
Yeah, just a little.
Hey, this is our sole source of income, that's all, but no, it's not a big deal.
No.
Some people want to sit around and talk about why their eco is better than someone else's. That's cool, but not really a priority right now in my mind, but we could talk about that later. So, I mean, right now the priority is to get as many dojos open as possible when they're allowed, obviously. In Jersey, people are just doing whatever they want and breaking rules, some people, while a lot of people are still following rules. We don't recommend that. We recommend follow the law and do what you're told for now and open up as safe as possible. So in opening and communicating with our students, as instructors, we have to be very clear on how do we make people feel safe. And we're not going to tell you how to make your students feel safe. That's up to you. But I think you have to start on one level. How would you feel safe? And then even make that go beyond that. How would you make everyone feel safe? Now, you're not going to make everyone feel safe. And some people might not come back to the dojos. We talked about that today. Some people maybe that have pre-existing conditions. How do we make sure they don't feel left out?
Well, it's difficult. You know, if you have an older population in your dojo.
In Aikido, there's an older population?
I've
heard the rumor about that, but I've never seen it firsthand. But
if you have an older population in your dojo, you may have some people who are a little hesitant to come back. So, I know that we've talked about it in the dojo as well as in our gym, different ways that we can make certain people feel comfortable. If you have people with certain pre-existing conditions, these are your people who are really, compromised as far as possible health complications.
Right.
You might be able to have a class strictly for those members.
Yeah.
And have that class be a very limited amount of people in it. So maybe you have people who have diabetes who are battling cancer, maybe who are on the older side, who are more susceptible. Maybe those individuals can train together in a class time that's not as populated and not with your 20-year-olds or right before or right after a kid's class, things of that nature to kind of insulate them.
Less exposure.
That's
a great idea. I think, like with us, we're going to have to continue the virtual training and offering virtual instruction because I know some people aren't going to feel comfortable coming back. And I don't want them to feel like now you either get to the dojo or you get nothing. And I know it's a lot of work. I mean, for us, it's a tremendous amount of work. We call it Media Mondays in our business because we wake up and we go in and we film for hours and hours and hours every Monday morning. We film like a week's worth of content from us. And then there's content coming in from our instructors and all of our different staff that we pay them to do different segments. And it's a huge endeavor what we're doing, but I don't think we could just turn that off. And that's something I wanted to talk about today because I feel like some people are like, as soon as I open, I'm stopping this virtual stuff.
And you can't. No. For two reasons.
Well, you could, but...
Well, yes. We don't recommend that.
We don't recommend it.
And yes, you can. And it's obviously your choice. But for two reasons, we strongly recommend keeping a virtual presence. The first one, for the people who don't feel comfortable coming back. Maybe these people are still paying you dues because they support you and they want you to be there when this is all over. And these people are amazing. You want to support them through this. And maybe they don't feel comfortable coming back to the dojo, but they still want to do that solo work at home. Or maybe they're doing it with their child at home or their spouse at home, which is a great way to expose the entire family to Aikido. The other reason why you should keep that virtual training, and we've talked about this, is because there might be a chance that this kind of circles back at us again. I know. but we have to think, we
Yeah.
have to plan. If you've got a 6-month or a 12-month business plan, this has to be factored into your business plan, that this whole thing could circle back again and you could be closed again. If you have had virtual training as an option this entire time, people will not bat an eye about it. They will just say, okay, we're going into this mode again. We're very comfortable with
It's
this.
already part of the culture.
It's
It's not like you have to reintroduce it.
No.
Or it's not like turning the faucet off and then turning it back on.
It's not like it's not like they're being penalized.
No. Yeah, you don't want that.
They'll feel fortunate that your dojo has this aspect to the training.
Yeah.
And also it gives you that opportunity, because if you have people who have been exposed to COVID-19 and they are
that's a good point.
they are
You got
they're
some good ideas,
Thank you. One of them was marrying you.
Oh, please, that was my idea.
It was your idea,
Whatever.
but that's okay. But if they have to self-quarantine for 2 weeks while you're still holding classes in the dojo, they won't feel like, oh, I'm missing out on a whole month of training.
That's a good point. And it, like we started with, this is about making levels of comfort for people where we can keep them engaged with the art, right? And I'm not going to say your dojo, I'm going to say the art, because really that's the greater responsibility. Is yes, we want your dojo, club, group, whatever. I get beat up all the time about that because people are like, I don't have a dojo, I have a club. So I try and say all three. But it's like really hard to say it all the time. But I say it all the time because I don't want to offend anybody. And I appreciate, because I've had clubs and groups and dojos. So I get it.
Yes.
But can I just say dojo? So your dojo, all right, whatever you have, we want that to reopen, whether it's at a YMCA, at a community center, or in your backyard, and you were training people. We want that to reopen because we don't want the greater Aikido community to shrink after this.
And can I say something really quick?
Yeah, I was on a roll, but go ahead.
Okay, just the one word that you keep bringing up is the word that makes it so important that we reopen, is community.
Yes.
It's about the art, but it is about the people that do the art.
100%. I mean, the art's amazing, but what drew me in were the people. And what makes people come back is the people. You could have the best art in the world, and if there's not a community, people won't continue to do it for the rest of their lives, which is why we have an aging community, because people stay with Aikido for many, many, many years, longer sometimes than other arts, I would dare say. But that's because of the community. It's one of our biggest assets.
Absolutely. And so that's why we need to get back to that brick and mortar, if at all financially possible. Even if it's out in a park, you need to see people. You need to have that social interaction, even if it's 6 feet away from each other.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. So I know some instructors I've talked to, they're just like, I'm so done with virtual, I can't deal with it. And don't get me wrong, I would like to throw somebody so hard right now. I'm not going to throw you, but I could. But I would love nothing more than to throw some people around, take some falls, break a good sweat. But it's not happening right now. Not for us, at least, not where we are. So, and that's okay if we can figure out ways to kind of bridge the gap and make steps. So if we're looking at this as steps, as virtual training, keeping that line of communication and that relationship intact, right? Not just with the instructor, but with the entire dojo. And then the next step being, okay, finally get to open. Now, what does that look like? I don't think most people are going to go right into technique. I know we're not. So with that, what we're doing is we're actually, for one, we're doing a couple things. We'll share it all with you. You can keep it or throw it away. But for one, we're limiting class size.
Absolutely.
For two, we do a lot of kids classes. We're not allowing mom and dad to be in the dojo watching, because they're going to run up the count of how many people are in our building, which is also going to cause a higher exposure rate. But we do have an asset that we have windows right at the side of the mat, so they could stand outside and watch if they want. And luckily, we're in warmer months right now, so we can get away with that for a while. The other thing is we're going to segment people into spaces, right?
Yes.
We're going to break down the mat. We're going to tape it off. We're going to give each person their own segment, whether it's an adult or a child. And then you've got to stay in that section.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to minimize. We're going to continue with that social distancing. We're going to minimize any kind of exposure where people are touching. I mean, like, we're not going to be doing wrist wraps right away. I know some areas of the country and the world are far better than we are. So we're just talking from more of an extreme point of view.
I mean, some people have had like 600 cases in their entire state or in their entire region. Like, we are not there. Our numbers are, I stopped counting and it got so high. It was...
Yeah, we have a lot of cases.
So we have to take extra precautions, and it might be that way for you, maybe not. But some of these are just best practices. Maybe, talking about comfort level, forget it. Like, let's say some people are just going to be scared. Let's just say it. Some people are going to be scared to come back. And then others are going to be beating down your door being like, why aren't you teaching? Cool. So we have to honor both, right? If we let everybody in that wants to come back and we're like, hey, let's just have class, there's no regulation stopping us, but then these people are scared and they're seeing what's going on there and that freaks them out more, now you've decreased your base, you've decreased your membership, you've shrunk your community. So how do we make it where the people that are beating down the doors are still getting enough out of practice where they feel like this is rewarding? And I want to come back, and I understand it's temporary. And then the people that are stuck home are like, maybe I do a little virtual training. Maybe I'll come in one day, try it out, see if I feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. So it's really like, it is a slow rebuilding of the relationship that has gone from full contact every time you saw them to no contact, and virtual should not go right back to full contact, or it won't for us. It's going to have some baby steps to build confidence. I'm sure this is going to change.
Well, and it's build confidence and build trust. So, your students already trust you, but they don't trust the outside world with this COVID thing. So what we need to do is we need to say, okay, our government has required us to do X, Y, Z. We're going to do that and then some. So I know that what we're going to do is we're going to be shrinking our class time to allow for cleaning before and after.
Right.
We're going to be providing hand sanitizer is going to be all around. We're going to be requiring students to wash their hands as they enter and as they leave class. Like you said, we're going to have the parents wait outside, so we're not going to have any visitors.
No. And we're not taking any new students right away.
We're not going to be taking any new students right away. We're going to be only allowing our current members to train.
Correct. And which, here's the thing too, and I know every dojo is different, but like some people, their students have continued to pay dues to support their dojo, which is insane. It's wonderful. And thank God, because we'd be in big trouble if we didn't have members like that. Some have not, and that's their decision. You lose your job or something, nobody's judging that. But I'm saying the people that have continued, if you have people in your dojo that have continued to support you during a time when you needed them to support you so that you could reopen, in our mind, our priority are those people.
Absolutely.
Those are 100%. You stood by me, I'm going to stand by you. This is how our community works. This is how Aikido should work. You support those in need. We've done it for years. Someone loses a job. Somebody's in a hardship position. Every instructor I know does this. They're like, don't worry about money. We'll figure it out, right?
Yeah, pay what you can.
Pay what you can.
If you can't pay anything, that's fine too.
It's kind of like the unwritten Aikido rule. So now, that has flipped, and so many of our members have turned the tables and said, well, now it's our turn to support you.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal, and I could not be more thankful for it. But I need to do something for them and make them my priority. I'm not going to worry about new people. And if people had to freeze, I'm not going to shun them or anything, but I need to focus on these people. So initially, we're just worried about our existing people.
Absolutely.
It also is going to control our class size better. It also gives us a chance for a couple of weeks to kind of dry run things, make sure things are running well. And then as the weeks go on, we can continue to look at options and possibilities for that. Now, here's the thing. When you're making a protocol for these things, which we need some kind of, COVID-19 protocol for our members, I'm of the firm belief that it has to be clear to everyone, and that means in every format, because God knows we do everything we can to get message out, but people are like, hey, I didn't know XYZ. So we can always do better. So there's emails we could send out to all of our members. It should be posted everywhere in your dojo. It should be in your private Facebook group. It should probably be on your Facebook page. It should be everywhere you can put it. It should be out there. For one, because you're not going to have the time to tell the procedures every single time. For two, if you create a video and take everybody through it, they're going to feel more comfortable what to expect, so there's no surprises.
And that's the other thing, is that providing a tour. So take a video. This is what we're going to do. You know, you're going to be the instructor. Have somebody that's in your family or close to you that you can socially get close to. Be the student. You know, show that the student's going to wash their hands. Show how they get on the mat. Show how they have a designated spot.
How soon you can show up for class.
Exactly.
Can I stay after and practice ukemi for a half hour, you know?
And also talking about pre-registering for classes. So if you don't have a software to pre-register for classes, you may want to look into finding one. And this might be a big shift for some people
but a good
who practice
one.
Aikido.
But a good one.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of good things that can come out of this. One being, if you're like, hey, I've always had a pad and pen sign in, or I don't have anybody sign in. Well, what if somebody came to class and they were sick and you don't know who was in class and you can't remember, or that instructor had no proof of who was in class? So there's a lot of reasons right now that some of us have decided not to embrace some of these systems. It's time to make these systems.
Yes.
Like if this was not a wake-up call for several things, this was a major wake-up call for we need to have standard operating procedures for our dojo so that things are clear, people are safe, and you have a system for catastrophic things where it doesn't make your dojo and part of the art evaporate if it has to close because you don't have these systems in place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have somebody who shows up at your dojo and possibly your state requires contact tracing, you would be able to say, you know, yes, Joe Smith was at my noon class and there was 5 other people in class. So these are the people that we need to contact. There was sanitation done prior, there was sanitation done after, so that everybody,
protocol is clear and you know who's coming, who's going, everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the final thing I want to talk about, because we're getting close, I don't want to go too long, is that messaging could never be more important. And I know some of us went into this and we're just like, you know, it's crazy because through our instructors group, I get to see what all these instructors are doing from all over the world. And some people were just like, I'll see you when it's over.
Oh, yeah, shut down.
Yeah.
And you know what?
And that's fine.
Totally fine if that's where they were
it's all good.
That's
judgment.
what they needed to do.
Then other people were like, full force, what are we going to do? You know, there's a lot that I feel like could help our art and could help everyone's dojo and make for a healthier, happier community if we could get more information out in a better way. And I'm always talking about messaging. We're always talking about how to communicate. We've talked about things like setting up private Facebook groups for your members so you can communicate directly with them. It's an easy way to provide a lot of benefits off the mat. That could have been in place before. If it wasn't in place before, now's the time to put it in place. Have that as a very clear line of communication. They'll get notifications. And I get it. Some people don't want to be on Facebook. You're the best at talking people into getting a what do you call it?
I just say
bogus profile.
Exactly.
I'm trying not to
just go in, make yourself
a fake name.
A fake name. Only join the Dojo Facebook group.
And we do that all the time.
That's the only thing you need to do. We have lots of people who do that because they're like, oh no, I don't do Facebook. I say, well, no problem. But this is what we provide through Facebook. So if you want to just put a bogus name up, just let me know what your bogus name is and I'll enter you into the group.
And by doing that, you add a lot of benefits to that Facebook group. So now beyond your virtual training that you may be doing, now you have in Facebook, you can go Facebook Live periodically in class so people can see what's going on in class. If I'm home, I'm like, oh, cool, I'm not missing out. He had a student go Facebook Live while he was teaching. I got to see what they're doing for safety protocols, and I'm feeling much more comfortable. I think I might try next week. Or in that group, you're talking about protocol, or in that group, you're giving different tutorials on different things they can do at home or in the dojo or whatever. It's just a phenomenal communication tool. Then it's making you more comfortable. Hopefully, if you were doing virtual training, you're comfortable in front of the camera now because you had to be. Now it's time to get out in front of the camera for the greater world, not just for your members, and start saying, what can you offer this new normal? What can we offer from Aikido to try and get people introduced to the art? And I know some of you are probably like, well, you know, that's crazy. Who's going to come do Aikido now? It's not. There's always an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And one of them is, if you think some people aren't going to be comfortable going back to a gym, some people are not going to be comfortable going back to yoga, some people are not going to be comfortable going to whatever. What if you said, okay, well, we're having a weapons-only Aikido class once a week, and I'm going to promo it, I'm going to let the community know about it, and that's going to be a way I'm going to try and get people introduced to my dojo. Maybe they never knew anything about Aikido. Maybe they had no interest in it, but all of a sudden you're like, hey, we have this new weapons class. You're going to be more than 6 feet away from each other. You're not going to be touching anybody. You're going to have your own designated space, and you show a little bit about what you're doing and what are the benefits of that as far as activity when people have probably been sitting around, and also just hand-eye coordination, motor skills, and community without actually having to be close. That is a great way to get people in the door.
Absolutely. And also,
that's my idea for the day. All right?
This is also a great opportunity to take those people who were sitting and being sedentary, and maybe now they're in that category of where they are higher risk, and they're saying, oh gosh, I got to do something. This is no good. But they're afraid to go to the gym. They're afraid to do something, like yoga, or they feel like too intimidated by it. But now you have this opportunity where they can go out, they can be social distanced enough that they can get moving, get some exercise, maybe get off of being, type 2 diabetic, or reduce their weight, or what have you, all in a very safe environment. It's a great opportunity to try and help not only, the Aikido community, but help the community at large that might need to be in better health.
100%.
If they do end up catching COVID-19.
And just to review, because we're wrapping up here, if we're looking at everything we talked about, setting up protocols, putting them in place, being very clear with your messaging, taking that messaging beyond just your group, your dojo, your members, your students, and going beyond that and now saying, well, what do I have to offer? When you're ready for new people, and like we said, we're not going to be ready to take new students right away, but you can put that in place now. You can start getting that together now. You can say, what is this going to look like? Maybe you even make a membership where it's once a week weapons class, and you get 2 virtual classes at home every week.
That's a great idea.
Bang, right there, all right?
See, that was 2 things.
Two great things. Go do them right now, please. But you can do this, okay? You have to stay positive. You have to be focused. And now is the time to start learning about messaging. I know a lot of great instructors that hate marketing. They hate social media. I don't like social media. I don't like any of it. But when you understand the value of it, and when you understand it's just a different way of having a talk or a communication with someone, then it's actually not so bad. Now's the time to start looking at all the different ways that we can communicate and use them to get people back on the mat and to get new people exposed to the art, and try to make a new way where you can actually help your community beyond maybe just the partner practice, because it might be solo practice for a while for you. You're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to change, but we don't need to lose who we are. We don't need to lose the art, and there is an opportunity to get more people in the door. And now is the time. There's never been a better time. Think of how long people are on Facebook right now scrolling.
Oh my gosh.
Or on social media. Have you ever had a time, and I said this last time, that you had such an attentive audience? You haven't. There hasn't been, because people are stuck home. So now's the time to start talking to them. And I'll tell you what, you have a good window. This is going to be for a while. So you can keep conversations going if you're saying the right thing, and if you're talking to what people's pains are or what they're struggling with and how you can help them, and you're sincere and honest and really want to help them, you can help them right now. But doing nothing is not going to help anyone. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help your students. It's not going to help your art. And as instructors, we don't have that option to quit.
What he said.
And that's it. I got nothing else. And hopefully I motivated one person today. There's some good ideas in there. I'm going to go do them myself. And I want to thank Paige very much for joining me again today.
Thank you.
And we will talk to you guys soon. Please stay safe. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up. Give us a good 5-star. Subscribe. Follow. It helps us keep going. And I will talk to y'all soon.